Do your parents argue? Because, oh boy, mine did all the time. It was like they were going for the world record of the most arguments you can have in front of your child. And it drove me crazy. I'm Allie, and I'm nearly 15. Not that you care. Anyway, I knew my parents were heading for Splitsville, and them splitting up totally changed my relationship with them. For better or worse, I'll get to that. But the best bit of my story is that I did something totally crazy to try and stop it all from happening, which totally backfired, of course, or I wouldn't be here telling you my story. So first of all, moms and dads, right? Who'd have them? Mom loves to cook, but it's really messy. She likes to tell me recipes in great detail, including all the weights of the ingredients. Yawn! I never listen. Then there is Dad. He loves to clean, so Mom and Dad work well. He likes to tell me about DIY and how to make a natural floor cleaner with lemons. Yawn! I never listen. Anyway, long story short, and possibly very predictable, they used to get on just fine. Dad would say things like, "My mom doesn't need sugar because she's sweet enough." And she'd say to Dad that not all superheroes wear capes. But then one day, it all changed. So, quick question. When you study, can you listen to music or have the TV on? Because I'm one of those people that needs complete silence or some white noise. You know, like the sound of a vacuum cleaner or rain. And I could hear my parents arguing over it. At first, I didn't think much of it, but then they started to argue all the time. Dad started sleeping downstairs. Mom was always crying. Mom would say things like, if Dad put things back in the right places, then he would be able to find them. And Dad would say things like, if Mom didn't buy another jumper she didn't need, we wouldn't have to tighten our belts so much. Their once happy and smiling faces were gone. Then one day they told me that they were splitting up and Dad was going to move to a flat. I was like, hello, at last. I was relieved. I didn't want them to fight anymore and be sad all the time and negatives into positives and all that. I get 2 bedrooms and I was sure I'd be able to decorate my new one any way I liked. And let's face it, when you see kids' parents split up on TV, they get loads of extra presents and pretty much anything they ask for. But of course, as with all the great "that's my stories," I was wrong. Very wrong. It was the tiniest room ever. Fact, half the size of my other one. And so began my dad not doing any other move other than shaking his head no. I wasn't allowed to paint the walls or put up any posters, as Dad didn't want to lose his deposit. He also said I had to keep it spotless and not be messy like Mom. And I never got any presents. For fun, sometimes I pictured his head going all the way around. Anyway, when I stayed with Mom, it was not much fun either. She was still sad all the time, and despite me suggesting we go to the movies or eat out, she just wanted to stay in. So I started hanging out with my friends as much as I could. I even went to my friend's boring poetry recital just so I didn't have to be at home. But I couldn't be with friends all the time. Soon, my parents couldn't even look at each other. I'd hear them argue about who was spending time with me. It was like they were using me as this trophy. They didn't have one nice word to say about each other, so I told them both to stop. But Mom said that she would say nice things about my dad if he wasn't so useless. And Dad said that he'd say nice things about Mom if she wasn't so manipulative and toxic. I was sick of it. Going back and forth, packing a suitcase, unpacking it, packing it again. My life was just suitcases. But I had no idea that, come on, say it with me, that it was about to get even worse. My dad got a new girlfriend, and she moved in. And no, that wasn't the problem. This was. Ready? Listen to this because I bet you would have freaked out too. I came in from school and my dad's new girlfriend's clothes took up half my wardrobe. Dad insisted as there wasn't enough room in his. I started throwing them out and Dad got mad. Said I should stop acting like Mom. We were always arguing And one day, I said, I wish I didn't have to stay with him. He said, good, and just walked off. But wait, there's more. Mom had kind of moved on. She didn't cry as much and had started making an effort with her appearance again. She'd go out with friends from work she had never mentioned before when she was with Dad, but she told me to lie about it to Dad if he ever asked. And Dad always asked lots of questions about what Mom was doing. It put me in a really awkward position. Me and Mom didn't argue like Dad and I. She said she wanted to be my friend. She loved listening about all my arguments with Dad and always took my side. But when I asked not to stay at Dad's, she said that I had to go, that I should spend time with my father. Then you'll never guess what happened next. Yep, that's it. It got worse. Dad had a baby with his new girlfriend. Now when I stay at Dad's, all I hear was it crying. And Dad always asked me to babysit. I said I have to study or talk to my friends. And he said that I shouldn't be selfish. Lottie was my baby sister. But I hated staying at my dad's. And it wasn't fair I didn't have a say about it because I was classed as a child or whatever. Sometimes I didn't feel like a child. So I decided to run away. But I hadn't really thought it through and had nowhere to go. I was just so exhausted by the whole thing. I had no idea where I was. What had I done? I really could do with my mom and dad right now. But there is no mom and dad anymore. But who would I call? Mom or Dad? Mom would be out with friends, and Dad would be busy with Lottie. Well, as it turns out, the police called them both. I thought that perhaps this might make things better. Make them realize how I felt about them splitting up. Wrong. And then I got in a fight. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I pushed this girl at school after she commented about my mom wearing pajamas when she drops me off at school. Mom grounded me but didn't shout or anything. Said she was disappointed. Well, you'll never guess what my dad did. Get ready because this will blow your mind. He turned up at the school gates and found the girl I pushed. Then he apologized on my behalf and said I would apologize in person. I know, right? If there was a world record for cringe, I would have won it that day. I was livid. I refused to apologize to the girl and refused to go to my dad's. And the thing is, my dad didn't try and make it up or reason with me or anything. Didn't he care now he had Lottie? And thankfully, Mom was okay with it this time. It's been 3 months and 3 days since Dad and I last spoke. It was my birthday last week, and he never sent a card or a text. Isn't he supposed to be the dad? Be the better person? I mean, I am just a kid. And I found some peace with it all when I just realized that Mom and Dad would just never get on. And maybe Dad and I never would either. And that was okay. And sometimes I wonder about Dad and Lottie. And I check out my dad's Instagram. Sorry, I mean his Facebook page, where he shares a lot, and I mean a lot of pictures of her. I hope she might have a better relationship with him. Oh, and check out the next story if you thought mine was cringe.